They've lost.
This ends here and now!
I'm counting on that.
Welcome back, everyone. This will be my full Thor Love and Thunder deleted scenes alternate ending video. There's a bunch of stuff that got cut from the movie. It was supposed to be like 4 hours long when Taika Waititi started cutting it down, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing a giveaway for IMAX tickets for the movie. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and just leave your favorite Easter egg from the movie on the video. Careful for spoilers for the movie if you haven't seen it yet, because we'll be talking about everything. But one of the first deleted scenes is the opening scene with Gorr's character when he kills the gods of his people after getting the Necro Sword. Gorr's daughter winds up dying, and there was a scene of him crying this blood-curdling scream that Marvel just deemed too horrific for the movie. But then right after Gorr kills his gods with the Necro Sword, there was meant to be a scene of him mutilating himself to remove all of his religious tattoos, which is why he has so many tattoos at the beginning of the film, but he has all the scars all over his face and his body at the end of the film. Natalie Portman revealed that there were whole worlds, whole sequences of the movie that got deleted. Early in the movie, Christian Bale also revealed that there was a scene of Gorr visiting the Grandmaster on Sakaar. There was also some other deleted scenes connected to that too that I'll mention in a second. There was also a deleted scene of Gorr visiting Eitri the dwarf on the Dwarven homeworld. It sounds like he was trying to kill him to prevent him from creating more weapons powerful enough to face the Necro Sword. He would have basically tried to kill Eitri to prevent him from creating more weapons like the Infinity Gauntlet, because Thanos forced him to create the gauntlet itself, and if he hadn't have done that, it would have been way harder for Thanos to actually snap half the universe. Some of the larger deleted scenes, the portions of the movie that Natalie Portman was talking about, also took place during the Guardians of the Galaxy scenes early in the film. Like there's a scene of Thor walking away from one of their battles in the trailers, like he's given up on war. There's also a deleted scene of him doing voiceover, talking about how he's chosen this path of peace and he tries to get all zen with him sitting under the tree. There was a lot of his speech early on with the Guardians that they got rid of, where he's joking to them about his crappy idea of a holiday and a relaxing vacation. Then connected to these early scenes where he's going around learning about the path of Gorr, it seems like there's a scene of Valkyrie on a planet with Thor that looks like Sakaar because there's all these trash piles behind them. And that might have been connected to the scenes of him learning about what happened to Sakaar the Grandmaster and Gorr. Tessa Thompson also revealed that there was a longer scene of her just literally talking straight to the goats, like she was really enamored with the goats themselves. When Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy are looking at all the different distress calls coming in from all over the universe, deciding who to help next and why they have to split up because there's so many, most of the scenes are meant to be comic book references, like directly comic book panels taken out of the Gorr storyline, meant to show all the brutal takedowns that Gorr has killing all these different gods before he fights Thor for the first time. One of these scenes originally was also meant to address him going after the gods from Moon Knight that you saw, Khonshu's pantheon of gods. Originally, the Moon Knight people revealed they were going to have a crossover between Thor Love and Thunder and Moon Knight with the Gorr the God Butcher character. Because early on in Moon Knight, I think it was around Moon Knight episode 3, they come in talking about how they're missing two of the members of their pantheon, their ruling council, the Ennead. What was going to happen is that they were going to enter the finale, walking in, getting ready to fight Arthur Harrow and Amit, who was coming back, while also complaining about Gorr the God Butcher, by that time having learned that it was Gorr the God Butcher that had killed two of the members of their pantheon. But just for reference, Khonshu's pantheon, the Ennead, are featured during the Godhead scene. If you look at some of the other tie-in material, you can see Khonshu's pantheon, the Egyptian gods, or what would have been happening in the background of this larger Godhead scene. They're meant to be hundreds of gods, so like every god that you could possibly imagine from Marvel Comics, every reference is meant to be included in this scene. During the Godhead scene, originally, one of the biggest changes that they made was going to be with Russell Crowe's Zeus himself in his cameo scene. Originally, they revealed that he was going to be playing a version of Satan. That's right, Satan. His appearance was going to be closer to the traditional appearance of the Satan character. In the comics, there's this group of what they call Class 2 demons that comprise what's known as the Marvel Hell Lords. They're like the greater god-level beings that rule over dimensions that are similar to the concept of hell, with each of them ruling over a different dimension, being equally powerful. Class 1 demons are meant to be like the highest level of demons in the MCU. Those are basically meant to be like the elder gods, like Chthon, the god of chaos. They reference him briefly during Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. He's the person who created the temple on Mount Wundagore, and he's the person who gave chaos magic to Scarlet Witch when she was born. He's the reason why she became the Scarlet Witch. Those elder gods, the older gods in the MCU, are the ones that built actual Omnipotent City. All the Hell Lords, like Mephisto, Satan, came after them, like Zeus, for instance, came after the elder gods. They're less powerful, but still super powerful. But that's why in the movie they gave Zeus the backstory that within the MCU, he's supposed to be the oldest living god and one of the most powerful currently, at least according to Thor. Which is why he's supposed to be the leader of this version of the Godhead and all the other gods defer to him. The whole concept with him being Satan in the movie I think was more about all the gods being so terrible that you'd root for Gorr more to actually kill them, like Gorr was right. The reason they changed him to Zeus instead of Satan is mostly just to service the plot and move things along even quicker and explain where they get his thunderbolt from. Otherwise they would have had to steal Satan's trident or something like that. Also during these scenes, they revealed there was going to be a longer deleted scene with Lena Headey playing a version of Hera, Zeus's wife. And obviously they had all these jokes where Zeus is super promiscuous, like the joke that their most important matter was trying to pick where their next party was going to be, even though Gorr was going around killing all these gods. You have to picture their relationship as being like Cersei and Robert Baratheon, like she couldn't stand him the same way that they depict Hera and Zeus in the comics as well as in pop culture, like Hera typically really upset with how promiscuous Zeus gets. There's also a really big X-Men connection here in the Godhead scene too. When they feature the god of magic and the god of dreams, this giant floating eyeball is actually meant to be Aura Serrata, the god of Araco. In the new X-Men comics, that's like the sister island of Krakoa, the hidden mutant island that all the X-Men hide out on. The islands themselves are like living entities. It's meant to be this whole arc that completely re-envisions what's happening with the X-Men inside the MCU. Very much one of those situations where X-Men have been inside this universe the whole time but hiding out. In the MCU right now, the closest thing we have to that right now, like a secret island that nobody's been talking about, is Tiamat's body, the body of that dead Celestial. The early theory right now is that the Avengers will eventually make their next base inside the body of this dead Celestial because it's so powerful and so advanced. Which is something that they did in the comics, but that was completely separate from the X-Men Krakoa plot. One of the other bigger X-Men Fantastic Four connections too is through the Galactus plot, because Galactus is featured in the epilogue for the Gorr the God Butcher storyline in the comics. During that storyline, they also have multiple versions of Thor, but it's more of like a Loki-Kang kind of thing with different versions of Thor from across his timeline, all fighting together, like young Thor, current version Thor, and then old man future Thor. Originally, there was this epilogue where you have this alternate future timeline where the Earth has died off, Loki has done something to basically bork the entire planet, and humanity has died off. Thousands of years in the future, you have old man Thor fighting a version of Galactus who's come to Earth that's dying and is going to feed on it because it's meant to be one of the last places where he can find a meal, and Galactus himself is running out of planets that he can consume for energy. And Old Man Thor uses the Necro Sword to stop Galactus, but then Galactus winds up absorbing the Necro Sword and becoming the Butcher of Worlds. Like the reference is that Gorr is the God Butcher, Galactus is the Hunger of Worlds, but when he gets the Necro Sword, he becomes Galactus, Butcher of Worlds. The only bad part about that story is that because Secret Wars happened right after that, it rebooted the whole timeline, and Marvel never really did anything with Galactus with a version of the Necro Sword. Would have been really cool. During the earlier part of the film, before they go to Omnipotent City, there were a bunch of deleted scenes with Jane Foster's version of Thor. So there was a deleted scene of her getting the power of the hammer with it reforming and her gaining all this cosmic power. Because there was also a series of deleted scenes that happen where Valkyrie and Jane Foster as Thor spend a lot of time together before Thor comes back to New Asgard. There were meant to be a lot more scenes of them together when she gets the power of Thor bonding and them being kind of like sisters during the film. Like Valkyrie really wanted to bring the Valkyrie core back and she finds Jane Foster as Thor and they kind of act like sisters again. There was also a deleted subplot about Valkyrie selecting who the next Queen of Asgard was going to be. Like she's supposed to be King of Asgard. Originally there was a storyline where she finds someone to marry and become her queen. There was also meant to be a full-on crazy Thor dance sequence, like in the vein of Star-Lord's Dance Off to Save the Universe, set to ABBA's Waterloo where Thor shoots lightning out of his hands. I think it was meant to be in the same energy as Star-Lord's dance-off sequence because so much of Thor is loving the Guardians of the Galaxy and just being inspired by a lot of the things that they do. Christian Bale also revealed that Gorr had his own dance sequence that was meant to riff on Thor's earlier dance sequence, but it was meant to be a Kate Bush kind of thing, and the reason they didn't do it in the movie, as you guessed it, is because Stranger Things used the Kate Bush running up that hill song and it turned into this big thing, so they just had to cut it out of the movie. Some of the other deleted scenes that you spot in the trailers too are Meek's whiteboard. So in the trailers, the whiteboard just tells you everything that's happened in the movie so far, but in the final version of the movie, they completely change what's on this whiteboard, and it basically reveals the entire rest of the plot of the film, because you basically see like everything that happens with the Guardians of the Galaxy, everything that happens at Omnipotent City with them fighting Zeus, and then everything later in the movie with Eternity. Before they've learned what happens with Eternity. Like at this point in the film, when this is on the whiteboard, they don't know anything about Eternity yet. During the trailers, there are also much longer versions of the scenes in Omnipotent City where they're fighting Zeus's men, just embellishing more kills. Like the scene of Valkyrie licking her sword wasn't in the final version of the movie. They also changed some of the other scenes of Valkyrie when they first go back to Asgard and play the Guns N' Roses Paradise City song, where you see her being really bored. In the trailers, you just see her rolling her eyes, having to do all this day-to-day stuff. In the final version of the movie, you see her playing with her little knife. So like I said, Taika Waititi explained there's like 4 hours of deleted scenes of this movie, but a lot of it is just a lot of jokes that he felt like after the fact didn't work, like the dance sequences. We probably could have done without all the Thor dance sequences, but it would be fun if some of those are included on the Blu-ray. If you spotted any other deleted scenes in the trailers or learned about any other alternate endings that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments. I've got a bunch of bonus videos planned. We have Marvel Comic-Con trailers coming in a couple weeks too. There's a bunch of big stuff, including the Black Panther 2 trailer that they're supposed to be bringing to Comic-Con this year. Of course, I'll do videos for everything, so make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss that. Everyone click here for my Thor Love and Thunder full breakdown for the entire movie, Easter eggs for everything, and click here for my Loki Season 2 first look video to find out what's happening during that. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.